get there, the focus is very much on design. Design leads the charge when it comes to several of these real estate developments, whether it's master planning or it's building design, material or vendors, labor. Focus on how it all comes together, that it's done sustainably. It's not just a process of designing the building, but also about how to pull everything in together. And finally, about educating the customer, because sustainability is a lifestyle. It is not it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop when the building process is complete. So it's about educating the customer. To a real estate developer, what this really means is creating the market. There isn't a market, or the market is very, very nascent for us. It is only when we have educated customers who demand for these kinds of spaces or are willing to pay for these kinds of spaces is when we can bring that back into the building industry and plow it in, and hence grow the market. Just talking about the role of design, for example, this is just a very quick example of what is important in green buildings and what's important in master planning. So for buildings, it's typically orientation, which is number one, configuration of the building itself, how tall, how wide, what kind of south exposure, what kind of western exposure, what kind of occupancy, daytime, nighttime, use of the building. That will start to define what kind of thermal comfort is required, how much of that can be done passively through the use and choice of material. The use and choice of material has a direct implication on lighting, on daylighting especially. So for example, use of a lot of glass versus use of a lot of concrete, etc., etc. And daylighting again is a fallout of orientation. So these are some very key aspects that have to be addressed when it comes to green buildings. I don't think the optimization of these many different elements is what really leads to sustainable green development. When it comes to master planning, the approach is a little different. Energy leads the charge when it comes to master planning, and a direct fallout of how the energy usage happens is transportation. Transportation is perhaps one of the larger energy sinks in our master plan developments, whether it is our own small developments or larger city level developments. Water and water strategies play a very important role. Planting and landscape, again, bringing nature into the surroundings, the environment of the occupants and the development is very important. Development of public spaces. This is a direct fallout of the kind of aggregation spaces, the kind of community spaces that can be created at a master planning level. What that directly addresses is mobility. And typically, when I say mobility, I mean non-motorized mobility. There was a survey that was conducted among many environmentalists, and the one word or the one metric that defines sustainability across many contexts is walkability, the ability to walk to where you need to go. So if you use walkability as a metric, then a lot of these different aspects of development come into play. So it's not just about buildings; it's about where you shop, where your kids play, where they go to school, where you work, the number of trips you make. A lot of different things go into it. So really, at a master planning level, a lot of these come into play. The buildings really fit into the master plan, but the buildings have their own set of constraints or criteria that need to be addressed. This is probably my second last slide. Talking about life cycle, I understand there was a talk before this. I did not happen to be here at that time. But I just wanted to bring to the fore that real estate development or even building design and execution hardly covers 5 or 10% of the life of the building. what we as the building industry or the green building industry affect is much larger portion of the life of the building and its occupants, but we have control over planning, design, construction. Maybe how we set up maintenance or operations. But a lot that happens after that process is really left to the occupants of the building, it's left to the people who use the building, and how the building is disposed at the end. What is its end of life use? So some of the key challenges from a real estate developer perspective is really to bring sustainability at scale. Today, for example, Godrej Properties has a development portfolio of over 80 million square foot across this country. That is a very large footprint that we can directly affect. However, how do we bring sustainability to the fore or to the core of each one of our developments across regions, across climates, across different market constraints, contexts, etc. So bringing sustainability to scale is very important. It is, while it is commendable to do pilots of small projects that show the way of how to do it, a lot of the developments that we are involved in are built at density. And when I say at density, I mean at full density. So we have FSIs of 1.5 to 2.5, 3. In metros much higher. And we believe density is good for sustainability from the perspective of footprint and from the perspective of impact. However, there are fallouts of this density that also need to be addressed. The economics of sustainability. This is a very critical aspect, and this is something that lies at the core of what we do. For example, the ability to convey to a consumer savings that may be realized over 25 years, and why there is a capital investment involved upfront, is the question. Today, there aren't enough models that or successful models that demonstrate this kind of repeated saving or saving over a large period of time, and hence that makes it very difficult for the consumer to understand why they're paying extra for something, or why we should be investing in something today because it's going to yield its result over time. For real estate developers, especially like ourselves, where we exit a lot of properties at the end of construction, this throws a big spanner into the works. Larger owners or owner-operators have an easier say because they realize the savings themselves. So how do you address the question of these economics and how they play out? Like I touched upon, the role of regulation and sustainability is extremely high, especially given it's a very nascent market, given the kind of impact that the government or public can bring at a much larger level is very critical. Not to say that we should not take it upon ourselves to drive a lot of this change. However, when the government gets involved, what it starts to do is there are lots of incentives that different people in the entire value chain start to realize, and hence it becomes easier. So for an industry that is still trying to get its roots and to move to a mature phase, the role of regulation is extremely important.